In the narrative that tells us the story of Korach, a new law emerges. The law is not to be like Korach and his group. And I think there's something that we need to learn from this. What Korach did is he attacked. Korach started, as it were, a war against Moshe. Now, Korach is somebody who grew up with Moshe. Korach is his cousin. Here we have an attack on the leadership of Moshe, and it's not just Moshe. It's an attack on Moshe, and it's an attack on Aaron, and it's an attack indeed upon God. Because ultimately, who was it who chose Moshe? It wasn't that Moshe applied for this position. It wasn't that Moshe went and sent in his resume when he heard that God was looking for a leader of the Jewish people. Moshe, in fact, did everything he could to try to tell God that I'm not the right person. So when one attacks Moshe's leadership, one is in fact attacking God. When one attacks the selection of Aharon, one is attacking God. This is Moshe and Aaron's cousin. And he attacks, he finds the right time. He finds the time when the Jews are now stuck in the desert for 40 years. And there's certainly going to be complaining, there's certainly going to be murmuring, and there's certainly going to be dissatisfaction. And here's the time that he comes, not to give a supportive hand to his cousin, not to give a word of comfort, I'm with you, I got your back, but rather he exploits the moment to attack. And there's something very cynical about that. And again, we're told not to be like Korach, not to be like Korach and his people. In life, there are times that we disagree with others, and that's okay. We don't have to all agree. In Avot, it talks about an argument which is l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, and an argument which is not. Argument for the sake of heaven, Hillel and Shammai. An argument which is not for the sake of heaven is an argument between Korach, and it doesn't say and Moshe, Korach and his cohorts. Because when something is for the sake of heaven, both sides really want to achieve the truth. Both sides want to arrive at the truth. Which means the person who's arguing with you, if you really are a truth seeker, you realize they're helping you clarify and understand, because they have a different perspective, and that's okay. Which means real arguments should be one where there is respect for the other side. This is an incredibly important issue, not just in the past, and not just in a Beit Midrash. This is incredibly important today. Do we respect others who have different opinions than us? Or do we absolutely push them aside? Because as far as we're concerned, we have all the truth and they have none. We have all the values and they have none. Which means true arguments we could describe as perhaps even, and perhaps I'm overstating it, as a Hegelian dialectic, when you have thesis and antithesis, and then it arrives at a synthesis. And it doesn't always have to be so exact. It doesn't have to be 50-50 in creating something new. It could be 80 and 20 or 90 and 10. But sometimes it's that counter argument which helps clarify and create your own position. Sometimes that other side really does have a good point. Sometimes that other side really is also seeking truth. And sometimes this wonderful explosion of ideas, and there is a little chaos that takes place, helps create something which didn't exist beforehand. But that can only happen when there's respect. I mentioned the Beit Midrash. When we sit and learn in a Beit Midrash, sometimes you can have two chavrutot studying, and it's like they're yelling at one another. But there's an appreciation that each side has wisdom and each side has intellect, and each side is trying to arrive at what's correct, and one person will say something and the other will attack it. But what emerges from that attack, hopefully, is going to be a clarification of truth that both will appreciate. We can't be like Korach, where we completely attack the other side and feel they have no validity. That's the problem of being like Korach. We're allowed to disagree. We can disagree in all kinds of relationships that we have. But if we disagree with respect, we disagree valuing the other side, then hopefully what will emerge will be peace. What will emerge will be respect. And what will emerge, hopefully, will be truth.